And you know, a lot of that is driven actually from a good thing. The fact that Cyprus has actually amazing product visionaries, people who are creating things in laboratories and have good applications for them in the real world, solutions that are really innovative, really inventive. But we need then to take it to the next step, to validate them, to get some feedback, to find a market fit. You know, there's some steps that are missing along the way.
We're using Cyprus as a safe space and a neutral zone to bring people together to innovate.
Come and see how we are doing.
Yes, and applying, 50 years of division and 20 years of peace. Cyprus as a country has 50 years of division and 20 years since the checkpoint opened of peace building experience.
Entrepreneurship is an enabling for peace by using business, which I found fascinating. And when you guys told me what is the best vector to promote peace, it's business. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Made in Cyprus, big business story from a tiny island. And today we have Stavrou and Burak Doulay from Social Tech. Guys, welcome. Nice to having you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us. Good excuse for a day trip to Limassol.
Right? Yes. On a sunny day. It's always good. You guys have one of the most interesting business proposition that I ever come up with, and a very simple solution for a very complex and deep problem. Tell us a bit more about what you guys do.
It's been a journey. It's been an 8-year journey that's evolved quite a bit over the past few years. But I think our mission has been the same with Social Tech Lab, which is to utilize and leverage entrepreneurship and technology to build bridges across divides, solve social and environmental challenges, and create resilient entrepreneurial ecosystems that can thrive in even some complex conditions. And the essence of our work at Social Tech Lab and with some of the initiatives that we have in Cyprus, like Cyprus Inno and the Base by Cyprus Inno, which we can talk about as well, is really to utilize entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial development as a peace-building mechanism.
I love that. And there is no better place than Nicosia, right? So which is the only remaining capital that is divided by a border. And let's talk a bit more about Cyprus Inno, because that's also closer to my heart, because I've been coaching with you guys there for a number of years. And it's in the buffer zone. It actually used to be a base, right?
Yes, a container.
We started digitally back in the day. We're a digital platform connecting entrepreneurs. But in 2020, we saw that our work is picking up. There's a lot of need of people to meet. So we got the container from Unificip that gave us, and we built where we host our trainings, co-working space, and innovation center in the buffer zone, where we call the first social impact generator. We bring people together. It was used in Lebanon by UNDP for peacekeeping forces, and then it was a community radio, and it's technically right in the middle of both checkpoints. Yeah,
and you guys actually are neighbor with the peacekeeping forces still there. I remember when I was coming that you could see the soldier training and living there.
Yes.
So is entrepreneurship is an enabling for peace by using business, which I found fascinating. And when you guys told me what is the best vector to promote peace, it's business. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to make money. No, it doesn't matter of the color, of the origin, of the history, right? And I found it so smart. So the concept is that you are there in the middle, and
we bring entrepreneurs together from all different backgrounds, all different communities, in order to either build together or build side by side. Our approach is to not force the peace building upon individuals. And the reason we do that, there's multiple reasons we do that. The first is that Cyprus has been divided for nearly 50 years. This will be the 50th year. And I think that we're a bit burnt out with the peace building process and some intercommunal, bicommunal activities. So our approach is to create really innovative startup programming that supports early stage entrepreneurs in building their business. Together, we create an environment whereby people can come and feel safe and open to working together. And they may mix. We may have mixed co-founding teams, which is a beautiful thing because it establishes a relationship.
Wow.
Builds trust in business, which is directly correlated with building positive peace. And or they build side by side and they learn from each other. And this also creates conditions for peace as well.
That's fantastic. And what's the reception of the community around?
Well, we've been doing this for 8 years, and so far we didn't see any negative comments. I think we managed to position ourselves in a very neutral spot. Yeah. Like as Steven mentioned, we don't force any peace building or political aspects to anybody, or everybody's opinion is respected to their own. So we have seen like some numbers. 60% was the number of people that are coming to an intercommunal or mixed community program for the first time, or 40% coming to the buffer zone for the first time. So luckily we didn't see any.
I love that, and like I've been in Cyprus for 6 years now. It's like I didn't grow up here, but I feel very attached to it, and it's my home, and I feel like there is a lot of need for action, right? There is a lot of talk, and as you said, I think people got burned out by the peace talks and all the political talks, but there isn't enough action. And what's better action than doing business together between the community? But how did you guys got into it? So you both grew up on the island, yeah?
I did.
Burak did, I did, and I grew up abroad in the diaspora,
right,
in New York.
Right.
And
what brought you back?
This.
Okay, so,
yes.
so tell me the day zero, the inception of Social Tech Lab and Cyprusino.
Actually, it's a really interesting story. The way it evolved too is very interesting. We were actually working on the same idea at the same time without knowing each other. So I had been in Cyprus for a bit of time right after the financial crisis, and it was
good timing, huh?
Yeah, it was quite striking to me what the conditions of a post-economic crisis island. And I started to think about how to support an entrepreneurial ecosystem, because for me at the time, the greatest opportunity out of sort of rising out of the ashes of a failed economy is entrepreneurial development in order to create new jobs and new opportunities where they didn't exist.
Yeah. So long-term impact.
Exactly, yeah. And for people to create their own opportunities. But I mean, something for me had clicked in the sense of, what about the Turkish Cypriot community? What's going on there? We're facing the same challenges. What if we put our heads together and try and solve it together? So I started to do a little bit of research, because I had no idea what was going on in the north, and I actually had never met a Turkish Cypriot before in my life. So it was a new area for me as well. When I was Googling the startup community in the north, and I wasn't finding much. I was clicking on Google, 3rd page, 4th page, 5th page, 6th page. I finally found an article about Burak. He had created the first.
You were on 6th page, mate. Huh? Not bad.
Very, very bad search.
You need to leverage your SEO skills there. Huh?
We're in the right place.
Yes. But good for you to keep scrolling.
I kept scrolling.
I can't remember someone told me I found something on 6th page.
Nobody ever goes to the 6th page.
That doesn't exist.
That's where magic happens.
Yes. That was the good stuff isn't it? Burak lives there.
I sent him a very long, passionate email about what I was thinking in terms of kind of bridging the entrepreneurial communities.
Yeah.
He said, I'm doing it. I have a venture right now that's helping with trade across the Green Line.
Bravo.
And that was it. We were on Skype, every day.
So both of you had a passion to do something between the divide, right? So what fueled your passion, Burak?
Look, for me it was, I wasn't very much into intercommunal, bicommunal stuff. So for me, it was turning point after school, trying to figure out what I want to do in life, and I explored entrepreneurship, and there was nothing about entrepreneurship in the north. So only training I could find was in the south. So I said, I'm gonna go. I mean, I have no choice. So I attended the training. I saw that people are very similar. Like I would go in the street on the way back, and I would see they're driving the same car, buying the same clothes, they're modifying the car in the same way. This was like early 2012s, 2013s. So I decided it's too similar to be divided. It doesn't worth the all this pay and the division. So I said I'm going to work for it, and I started volunteering in peace building. But I thought it was very. You had an event with the same people. It was the usual suspects. So the difference there was an interest based. You had to be somehow have an open mind to attend the peace building event. So you weren't you cannot really make peace. Like you cannot attract new people. So you have dialogue, etc. So I focused on thinking of what was the need, and the need for everybody. The common problem was unemployment, and there was a big economic crisis, as Steven mentioned, at the same time. So we decided to help businesses to meet each other from both sides and connect them to trade across the Green Line. That's what I was focusing on in the beginning.
I love it. It gives me goosebumps, like when you said like we are too similar to be divided, and absolutely true. But how are we looking? What do you think is the general social sentiment from the north side and the south side on this type of activities, or because I know that a lot of people, a lot of my friends, it's still an open wound, and for many others, it's that they're just crying for something to happen. You guys are literally right in the middle. How do you guys feel is going?
There's kind of two different levels to this. One's the political level and one's the community level.
Yeah.
And our focus is always on the community level. Even if we're stuck in the political process, there's still a lot we can do on the ground to unify one day at a time, one person at a time. And we chose very specifically business and entrepreneurship to do that because of the character and the profile of the entrepreneur, who is someone who values productivity and growth over any sort of ideological, religious, geographic differences. And this is the bet we took back in 2016, and it's what we've seen over the past 8 years, is that this sort of character is actually a fantastic peacemaker without really even knowing it. And so from our perspective, it's about creating ties on the community level. Economic ties is our specific area, and to create the conditions for an eventual solution if there is political will to do so.
I like that. It's kind of like an inside-out approach, right?
Yes.
Whether the politics probably looking from the outside, right, from the high chairs, you're actually going one community, one person at a time to drive that whatever it is from the inside out. Yeah, I love that. And how many startups do you guys help every year?
Innovation and Peace Tech is what we call it.
Peace Tech.
And then Cyprus was the first organization we started, which is our online platform and some of our digital tools to help not just connect entrepreneurs on both sides, but give them resources. And then the base by Cyprus is the physical space and innovation center.
Which still has the barbed wire. I love it.
Yes.
The metal container.
It's a very symbolic location.
Yeah. And so how many startups are passing through you every year?
Look, this year still, we entered 2024, but 2023, the number was around 80 teams.
Well, you guys are pretty busy.
80
for Cyprus is astonishing.
Yes.
Yep.
We had multiple simultaneous programs that ran last year, whether it was a hackathon or an academy or a venture builder, and throughout those programs we supported upwards of 80 teams through training, mentorship, resources.
And 3 of them received funding. 2 of them got 25K each, and 1 of them received 10K to do a prototype or improve their MVP.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And how is Cyprus looking in terms of being a startup ecosystem?
It's looking better.
Yes, definitely.
It's been a slow growth.
I mean, it's look, we've been active for 8 years, and in the beginning, only thing happening was, networking events, everything. People were still trying to understand what their role is. You have different players. The startups, there were no startups. They were trying to form. We know, there were how many exits that happened in the last year in the tech sector. I mean, startups are tech, basically. So. But now we see a focus. We see many fintech startups coming up, biotech startups coming up. Things are fitting, and it's not only that. You also find good subject matter experts that are supporting them. We have a VC, so they're pushing their companies, and finally, I can say that we have some Cypriot cases, Cypriot success stories that can be shared in the community, which didn't exist 2 years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago, people were asking us what's lacking from the ecosystem. We were like success stories. Yeah. Now we're really proud of some of the stories that have come out of the ecosystem. As Burak mentioned, there's a bit of capital flowing in. And one of the signs that we see that the ecosystem is growing is the kind of expansion of sectors. So we're seeing very clear sectors popping up because we have data from the applicant pools that we have. Burak mentioned biotech. We're seeing a lot of academic research that's being commercialized and spun out, which is really encouraging. We're seeing clean tech and climate tech because high solar profile of the island, surrounded by the sea. We're seeing a lot of social. I'm trying to think through the applications that we get.
A lot of research projects trying to commercialize. We get many applications ourselves only from teams that are PhD projects, and they're trying to find a commercial value for it. So we get that type of ideas, which two of our teams, one of the winning teams were a project like that. So
and agri-food.
And you guys traveled, right? So you guys were out of Cyprus for a long period of time, multiple location, different location. What is that fundamental difference that you saw on out of Cyprus ecosystems and in Cyprus ecosystems?
I think it's about how well networked some of these ecosystems are. They're a little more connected regionally. Cyprus is a little disconnected from mainland Europe. We're a bit small, but that also creates some opportunities. I think part of the journey of the ecosystem is finding its personality. Like what are we good at? What are we really good at based on the resources we have and the talent we have?
What would you say is the Cyprus startup ecosystem personality then?
Well, some of the sectors that we just mentioned, I think, are ones that are going to rise and kind of define us. So, some of the biotech.
So it's still in development, you think? Yeah.
Some of the biotech and research that's coming out and being commercialized. Some of the agri-food and agri-tech startups that are coming out. That's one area, but I think finding its personality is one thing, and also being a nice, you like to say this, like a testing ground, where you can pilot really easily in Cyprus and then use that as a case to start expanding.
The famous sandbox, right?
Yes.
I think it's one of the conversation that we keep having, which you're absolutely right. Great place to test, perhaps because of the size, not a great test to make $1 million.
Not to scale.
Hard place to scale. Yes, but strategically positioned, across 3 continents where you can look in really any direction and find a market to expand to.
So it's like a trampoline, right? So you start from here, and then you need to take steps outside if you really want to grow your startups. And I think that every single person that we interviewed here in this podcast as well, right? We started from here, great sandbox, great testing scenario, community small but very connected, right? So we keep seeing each other at all the same events. We talk with the same people, right? Everyone is a cousin of someone in a way, right? So that's good. But there has to be an exit plan, right? And is your philosophy exportable? Can you take it out of Cyprus? Because to me, like, it looks very deeply rooted in Nicosia, and those roots are going north and south and trying to bring people together, rightly so. Can you take the philosophy outside of Cyprus?
We just started this year. So basically, the shift from Cyprus, to Social Tech Lab was to get a more international name. So we can export this knowledge that we built over 8 years in, exporting knowledge in using entrepreneurship and innovation in conflict regions. So we're now, like 2 years ago, we had a trip to Israel, Palestine, in the region. We're meeting with many colleagues from the Balkans. We helped some teams come from Israel and Palestine recently to Cyprus, and we're planning some cohorts coming again this year. And the way we do this is we sit down last year and we built a formula. We build what we call the social impact generator. We create an equation where we take different factors and then we can apply this anywhere, basically. So now we're doing the same here, and we're experimenting in our closest neighbors here during what's happening, unfortunate times. And the next for us is to keep expanding it.
I guess the Israel expansion got delayed then in that case, or
not there, but it's happening opposite. Like, we're using Cyprus as a safe space and a neutral zone to bring people together to innovate.
Come and see how we are doing.
Yes, and applying 50 years of division and 20 years of peace. Cyprus as a country has 50 years of division and 20 years since the checkpoint opened of peace building experience. And for more violent and active conflicts, actually the status quo here and the peace building that's happening very actively between the communities is something a little bit aspirational for some of these other conflicts. So they come, they see...
That's the vision where we want to be in a bit, right? So
that's part of the debate that actually happened, is that, okay, these these folks are in a frozen conflict. This looks pretty good to us, but is it good? And then that's where the Cyprus perspective comes in about, you know, the dangers of a frozen conflict and status quo. So this kind of dialogue mixed with tech and entrepreneurship it creates a really interesting dynamic.
No, it's good. Like, well, I think that as I was telling you in the opening, I think your purpose of using entrepreneurship and tech as peacekeeping, I think, is one of the most powerful purposes that a brand can have, right? And rightly so, drives everything that you do. And from the brand perspective, you need to have this strong energy core to then understand how can we use it somewhere else as well. Yep. And Steven, you met Obama.
I did, yes.
Yeah? I actually saw a photo of you sitting next to Obama or very close to Obama.
I had the lucky seat.
That's good. Tell me about that.
I had the lucky seat. I was in the Obama Leaders Program for Europe.
Wow.
It was a cohort of about 35 really remarkable individuals. I had this most severe imposter syndrome of my life. I mean, people creating some real magical change throughout the region. And we had many meetings, and it was still kind of like post-pandemic time, so a lot of it was on Zoom, but amazing program on community building, on leadership, on storytelling, which is really important when you're working in a more complex environment.
Yeah.
We got to go to the Democracy Forum Summit, I'm forgetting the name now, in Copenhagen, and he was there as a keynote speaker. And he dedicated a day to working with us and talking through challenges with us. So I was also one of the lucky ones that got to pitch to him and present to him. And my topic was tech for social good, which was really fitting for our work, but also was interesting to have a discussion because it was just a few months after he had given a speech, I think at Stanford, about some of the threats of big tech on democracy. And democracy for us is an important thing because it's also directly related to positive peace. But yeah, we had these roundtable discussions, and you didn't know kind of when he was coming or you know when he was going to join your table, join your discussion.
You would always keep looking on your back like
yes,
this. Oh my God, it's coming.
But for me,
act easy.
Yeah, we sat at our table, and there was one seat empty, and it was the one next to me, and I was like, all right, Mr. Obama, Mr. President's coming to sit next to me. It was a very good experience. Really about like community building, storytelling, and leadership is probably one of some of the best insights I had ever received.
Amazing. And so you've been doing this for 8 years. Where do you see yourself in 8 years from now? Let's say that this is a pivot. What's your vision?
I think it relates to the previous question, actually. Right?
Yes.
On exporting the knowledge.
Yeah, that's how we see it, right? Like, we're growing the team now. We want to build a local team here, and we focus on exporting this knowledge elsewhere. It's opening different bases in other countries, other conflict regions with their own branding, own name, because we always have this philosophy that it needs to be localized. It's for the local people, and the solution needs to come from them. We cannot go and build for them. So that's why it's very important for us to have very strong partners in these regions that believe in the same vision. They think it will work, and it's implemented by them. So we just go share what we know, help it set up, and just go around. And the thing here is that, you know, when you think of it, it's kind of like, you found your way in conflict, so as long as you conflict, you exist. But actually, it's not that. Our work also will continue after conflict, because people will always need to grow their business. There'll be more people that need to start something up. So it's not only about intercommunal conflicts, but this can be between two groups in the same community, same religion, but with different political opinions.
Interesting. Would you say that you are a bridge builder first, so social impact first, or entrepreneurial first? Where do you think is your starting point?
Nice question.
I think it's entrepreneurial.
It's entrepreneurial first.
It's entrepreneurial.
Yes. Because this goes back to where we first started the conversation, which is about how we approach peace building, which for us it's solution-oriented peace building. It's coming together to solve our challenges. And so we have some dialogue. Dialogue happens. We address whatever folks are feeling, because people feel conflict in different ways and experience in different ways. But then we transition the mindset into solutioning. that's also the feeling that you get when you come to the base. You walk in and you feel ready to work, collaborate, build stuff.
Doing stuff.
Yeah, so we try and change the mindset of the room to, okay, we have these issues. Now how do we work together to build solutions that will solve them? And the peacemaking happens as a natural result of that.
Yeah.
Which we think is really nice.
And yeah, just to add, like, because I realized we mentioned this, peace building in Cyprus, we directly relate it to Cyprus problem or conflict. But peace, the type of peace we work on is the positive peace. So this can be anything to environmental, risks, to anything about human rights, or it can affect societies on different levels. So the model we have, we believe it would work in any stages of conflict and with any type of
any
risks.
opposing sides,
Yeah.
any party with a different view on the same topic.
Mhm.
That's where you come and you find solution.
Yep. In areas where there's environmental challenges, which could lead to destabilization over resources,
Yeah.
that's a threat to stability and a threat
It's
to
smart.
peace. Anywhere where there's threats to democracy or human rights, it's a destabilizing factor and it's a threat to peace.
Smart.
So we need solutions that are stabilizing and growth oriented that can help solve those challenges, but create positive conditions also economically.
Yeah. And how much of this, because like you guys now spoke with a lot of confidence and a lot of knowledge, how much of this you had on day one? Like how much of this you learned by doing, or how much you had it?
I think it, comparing feelings, day one it was passion,
Yeah.
year 8 is evidence. So we I think we speak the same thing because it was more from the heart. Now is heart plus proof.
Yeah.
So that's the combination. that I
Emotion
feel.
now is emotion and tactics, right?
Yeah.
Whether before was like purely emotional in
Exactly.
a way, right?
We know it works. So how do we build a model that's replicable, that's
Yeah.
scalable, that can be implemented in other areas?
Yeah.
We can help more people.
Yeah.
And when did the realization of we know it works happen in these 8 years?
I think recently, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, recently.
Surprising.
So it's a long, slow journey, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of that had to do with the challenges we faced along the way.
Yeah.
We're also an intercommunal team.
Yeah, but also like think of it like a business, right? To make it sustainable and everyday thing, you need around 5 years to find your niche and to say that you're standing on your feet. And I think we passed through the same phase without knowing.
Yeah, is that 5-year death sentence for startups, right? If you survive that, then you probably have a viable business solution, right?
Yeah, and we
Hopefully.
say, in these types of discussions, we always talk about what works and what worked. But we've had ideas that haven't worked so much.
Tell me about that. Tell me one idea that didn't work, but you were very passionate about it.
I think we had all these ideas also for some digital tools we wanted to build around, funding platforms and, bringing more capital in, stuff. We were moving really fast. We wanted to try all these different avenues. We had ideas for programs that didn't materialize, maybe.
Yeah.
But
Was it demoralizing?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Why not?
It's enjoyable.
It's fun.
It's
I
fun.
think it's team, actually.
Yeah.
It's like a playground for us. We try today, it fails, tomorrow we build something else.
So it's like the definition of building the plane while flying. Yeah. So you feel at ease in that environment.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but also like to mention another mission of Social Tech Lab, like in our new strategy and our vision, one was exporting this knowledge.
Yep.
Because the model we built, the social impact generator, it's a model that is replicable.
Yeah.
And second for us was to spin off our own products. And one thing we build now that we're rolling out is an alumni app. We created an app where people can go and add each other as friends and keep, so we do networking full time to all the members. And then an interesting request came from our neighbors that they want to be part of it, to use it for them. But maybe we start doing regional networking. And the other tool we are rolling out Friday.
Yes, Friday.
The first prototype is we build an AI chatbot that you can talk about the Green Line regulation. You will go and ask them, how can I trade X product from north to south or south to north? And it will tell you the regulation and what form you need to do. So it's easy access to information.
How we're looking on that? How easy is that? Or how hard is that?
The trade
Yeah.
depends on the product,
Yeah.
what you're trying to cross, from which direction.
For example, olive from co-olive, right? So from a sandal, like he has these like olives from both of the sides. What are the ups and downs of the?
I think olives have become easier because people like Hassan and others paved the path.
Did something.
Yeah.
They paved the path.
So once again, someone had to care enough to try to do the bridge.
Exactly. Someone had to have the idea and push and overcome those challenges in order to break down the barrier that existed.
Yeah.
And so, like olives, other categories of products are, slowly year by year being unlocked, let's say, to allow for trade. But it's still a little complex and challenging. It's confusing. It's kind of hard to find some of the information. There's an effort being made around, centralizing and making sense of the information so people can more easily access it and know what to do if they're interested. We had done large-scale research about this in 2020, and we found a very, very low. I think the number was 2.2 out of 5 was knowledge on green line. So people really don't know what to do. But when we talk about peace tech, one of the applications we see is like, how do we use generative AI tools to make sense of all this complicated information? So it's really easy for people who say, I want to trade to the other community. Just go ask and get their answer, and not be demotivated because they couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, it's like one of the burdens of Cyprus is the lack of digitalization when it comes to bureaucracy, right? Everything is just a bloody nightmare. Still slow, complex, hard to understand, and that's for normal business operations. So I cannot even imagine on a more delicate topics like intercommunity trade from this side to the other side. So I think that's good. And there are. Do you feel that there are a lot of people that don't even want to talk about this and don't even want to know? Does it come from that lack of desire to the knowledge, or there is not enough knowledge available?
I think it changed 5 years ago. It was a sensitive topic. Now it exists. This thing exists in Cyprus. It's there, and people try to explore it. And I think the big shift happened after COVID, after people were locked for a very long time, homes in the lockdown, and the devaluation of Turkish lira, at least in Nicosia for us. We saw a huge shift in crossings, in everything, people being more open. I think things have dramatically changed, and they changed for good.
I think that it's to learn from you is resilience. Just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And like from a personal level, help me understand, because like I also feel like I'm purpose driven, right? Like this podcast is purpose driven. It's about shining stories of big ideas and small and big businesses that make this tiny island big, right? They meet sea a lot of sea. So there is a purpose strong on this, but it is not easy, right? There are more downs than ups. Like you mentioned 8 years to get these 3 stories out.
Yep.
So what kept you up all these times that you were crashing or hitting your head on the wall?
I think it was a unique challenge for us to solve. Like solving it kept us motivated.
So it's stubbornness about
it's a bit stubbornness, yes, but also the fact that if we succeeded, we can get to the next level in the sense that we have something to show for, and then we can try to achieve the next jump. I'll give you a really nice example. Well, it wasn't nice for us back then, but it's a good example. We struggled to register our organization for a while. Yeah. So we didn't formally establish until 2019, even though we were active since 2016.
And that's why, because of the location?
No, not the location per se, but the fact that we were registering a company that was intercommunal, that was with a Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot director. And this, created, it was taken very slowly within the process. It took nearly 2 years. We had multiple applications. We had to do multiple tactics.
How did that work? So did you have to register on one side and then on the other side?
No, we were only registering in the Republic. But again, even that was challenging.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a lot of persistence. It was a lot of patience. There were ways we could have solved it very quickly, but the outcome wouldn't have been the same. We wouldn't have been able to go out to our community, who we're trying to encourage to create these intercommunal partnerships, and say we did it, because we wouldn't have done it. But if we stuck with it, which we did, and we finally got it, now we have a story to tell. We ourselves are an intercommunal business, formally on paper, done, sealed. So we paved the way for others to do the same. If we had, given up on that process for those 2 years, and it cost us quite a bit of time because we needed that organization to do a lot of what we wanted to do, and it delayed us for a while. But we wouldn't have been able to go back to our community members and say we did it, and we wouldn't have been able to set the example.
Amazing.
So,
and do you guys have a formal written vision, like between you two, like that's where we're going and that's what we have to do, that's why we cannot give up, or it's more conversational? So how does it work between you two? Because I know that you're aligned, but like how do you keep each other aligned on the goal?
We're data driven, so it's not that we decide alone. What we do is we're constantly survey and monitor our alumni or new applicants, or even we interview or ask surveys from people who apply to our programs but got rejected. And we try to identify the gaps in the ecosystem.
I love that.
And we design programs based on their needs. So if we look at the alumni, they graduated and they say this is a need. But those who rejected, they have overlapping needs. That means in the next 6 months to a year, we should be focusing on those areas to provide support to people in this area. So it's not what we choose. We agree on the philosophy and the vision that this is what we want to do for the people, but it's defined by data where we're going to go. So
and that's exceptional branding, because if we take this out of social tech, you're listening to your customers.
mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right, so you're doing social listening to the people that are actually making your brand, and you're developing something that they will need in 2 years, or like they will need.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Another angle is making sure that we build the program based on the needs, and then the program needs to reflect the demographics of the participants.
Yeah.
And what we mean by that is that when participants enter our program, they should feel that the way the program design is meant for them.
Yeah.
And that's not just about their need, but that's about seeing trainers that come from the different communities, from different genders, mentors, speakers,
industry like yourselves.
So if you come into a program, you feel that the program is built for you.
Yeah, inclusive to the highest
totally
level.
Inclusive as best we can, because we want to be inclusive both with gender, but also with our communities, because we're intercommunal. And this has grown to not just about Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot. It's still our focus, but because of various factors, not just the fact that we're open to all, but because we're in a neutral space in the buffer zone, we've been able to also host other community members in Cyprus, whether they're from vulnerable groups or refugee populations, or other amazing people like yourself who've chosen, Cyprus as your home.
I did not sponsor them, huh?
Built a business here and come in and give your knowledge to our cohorts. That's an amazing thing. We built such a nice, diverse international community. Yeah. And it's awesome.
No, kudos for that. I think that the real power of Cyprus is that is the understanding that is only as much as we can do alone. Right, and it's always been a country since back in the days attracted people coming from everywhere, right? Yeah. Because even though being such a tiny piece of land floating in the Mediterranean, he has such a rich and deep culture, right? And in a way, this is the 2.0 version of that, right? Mm-hmm. And do you see some risks though into losing the identity of Cyprus? And I'm talking about places like Limassol, for example, right, which become the tech hub of Cyprus, which attracted hundreds of thousands of foreign people. Where is that thin border between this is good and this can be somewhat a sign of us or Cyprus losing its identity?
I think that, the whole world is globalizing. Mm. I think it's such a benefit to have talent coming from abroad and reestablishing, a home here. We have diversity of thought, different perspectives. This is the breeding ground for innovation. This goes back to our work. That's why we believe so much in bringing, if we just go back to the beginning, Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots together, because we bring different ideas and perspectives to the table to find unique ways to solve our challenges. Yeah. One group, one representative can't do it alone. And so we need that diversity in order to grow and evolve as a society. And I mean, it's very important. It's very important.
I agree. Whatever you do, the change will come. One way or another. It's about how ready you are to coordinate it all together and find a common ground to go.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like I'm totally in agreement with you. Like I've always been fascinated from the diversity of Cyprus, especially in the last couple of years, and considering that the island, the entirety of the island is smaller from the region in Italy I grew up. It's a testament of that size doesn't matter, right? In this case, because we have so many fascinating stories, and one of the reasons why we started doing this podcast as well, because I realized there are so many amazing people on the island, and they don't get enough of a voice, and we should have more of these places like yourself as well to inspire others to do. I think your story, I will define it in three points. One, purpose. Second one is resilience, and the third one is listening. I think you are the perfect manifestation of all these three, and if we will all be a bit more purposeful in what we do, and this doesn't have to be corporate social responsibility, right? It has to be just a strong energy that drives you, and if we were all a bit more resilient and like not giving up, and especially if we all listen a bit more to the others, there is so much that we can learn.
Totally. And be willing to pivot and change. It's okay. You know, we don't have to stick with the very first idea we have and not change not change at all based on what we hear, based on the feedback we get. And you know, a lot of that is driven actually from a good thing. The fact that Cyprus has actually amazing product visionaries, people who are creating things in laboratories and have good applications for them in the real world. Solutions that are really innovative, really inventive, but we need them to take it to the next step, to validate them, to get some feedback, to find a market fit. You know, there's some steps that are missing along the way, and that's what we build into our programs. Yeah,
everyone has a few steps that is missing, right? Like what you were saying, Burak. Depends what the step is, and it's a matter of finding someone that can push you. Right. So to wrap this up, and thank you again for your time. Two things. How can people get involved and participate, support, or just be part of this beautiful initiative that you guys have? Multiple initiatives, actually.
Find us. Social media, we're everywhere.
Yes, we're everywhere.
Right here on the video.
We'll comment down. We'll put the links.
All of the names. Cyprusino, the Base by Cyprusino Social Tech Lab. If you just search those names on any social media channel, you'll find us.
Perfect. Last two very important things. Who would you like to see on this show and why?
We have some names.
Yes.
We have there are teams that have come out of our cohorts that are quite
keep
impressive.
it in the family.
Yes.
Bravo.
And the name of this is Made in Cyprus, and these are truly made in Cyprus.
Amazing.
So one
very well fitted.
One is a product that came out of our program that takes olive pits and makes them into tabletops. So
Brilliant.
Wood alternative. The other is working on vegan leather from the prickly pear, the cactus pear. Two things that are widely available around Cyprus.
Amazing.
So we would love to encourage those teams to come here and chat with you.
Maybe we'll get them both of them in the same time.
Yes.
I think that's good. And last but not least, what's your joke?
We have a good one.
We have a good one.
We might have the first very good one. Then let's see.
We remembered. You sent us this brief. And we remembered the joke, but we couldn't remember it. We had to contact a friend who had told it to us.
Brilliant. You did some research. I love that.
Yes, because it was the perfect joke because it aligns with our work.
Great.
You talked about exporting our knowledge, and the reason we believe in exporting the knowledge, especially entrepreneurship related to a conflict setting, is because we don't have to have sort of the victim mentality, right? We talk about the Cyprus problem a lot. One of the challenges we face is we're going to international conferences. All the other countries are talking about climate change and future of work, and we're still discussing the Cyprus problem, and it kind of holds us back. And that's why we're so solution-oriented with our peace building in order to move forward. So there's a funny joke around this issue, and the joke goes something like this. I might mess it up, but I'll try it. And it's one of those where, three people walk into a bar type thing. There's an Italian, a German, and a Cypriot on a plane that crashes in a remote area. And they're taken by a tribe, a local tribe. who has decided that they're going to eat them. And the tribe, according to their traditions and customs, asks the Italian, the German, and the Cypriot, you have one final request. The final request can be for us to let you go. We're not going to let you go. We're going to eat you. But it could be any other thing you want. So the German goes, I would like a nice German final meal. I would like a beer and, a sausage, bratwurst. The Italian goes, I would like the same. I'd like a fresh made pasta, a glass of red wine. The Cypriot goes, I'm good, but if you give me 5 minutes, I just want to tell you about the Cyprus problem. And so it's one of those jokes where, we remember that we kind of get stuck in the problem and, don't focus too much
on
the
solution.
Yes.
And probably that will never kill him.
Probably.
Because he won't stop talking about it.
He's still saying
about it, yeah.
To Papua, yeah.
Exactly.
Burak, Steven, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for the work that you do for all of us on the island. And don't give up.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Cheers.